So my name is Robert Quijano. I own a comic book store called Atomic Monkey Comics. I've been into comic books since I was a child. Pretty much started reading them when I would imagine around 8 years old, and have always had an interest in them since then. I have had many, many jobs. If we count this as one of my jobs, I think I've had 41 jobs in my life. I started out as a jeweler in my teens, and I did that until I was in my mid-20s, and got into the comic book industry and was a comic book artist for about 5 or 6 years. It was the best job I ever had, and the most fun I've ever had in my life doing anything. I liken it to when somebody says they always wanted to play baseball or football for major league teams. Well, when I was a kid, I always wanted to draw comic books for DC or Marvel, and I got to do that. So it was a sort of childhood dream that I got to fulfill. It was a period where I was in between jobs, and I worked for one of the other comic book stores in town, one of the bigger comic book stores in town, and I actually enjoyed that process, and I enjoyed working there, and I enjoyed the environment, and sort of stepped back from it and looked at it, and kind of looked at the owner of that store and figured, well, that guy can do it, surely I can do it. And it looked pretty easy from the outside until I actually got into it, and it was a little more difficult than what I thought. But it's turned out to be pretty good, and I like it, and it's something I can see myself doing for quite a long time, as long as people want to buy stuff and they like getting comic books or pop culture type items. I like the environment, and it's something that I can see doing well into that quote unquote, if you will, retirement age. Every day I look forward to coming into work. It's not a grind. Every day is kind of different, and I get to meet people who like the same kind of stuff I like. One of the weirdest parts or most fun parts about my job is to have a hour-long discussion about which movie Batman is the best movie Batman, which Peter Parker is the better Peter Parker in terms of the movie or the movies, and talking about story arcs or different things that people find that are in here that they feel passionate about and they want to share and discuss with you. That part's pretty fun. Comic books are enjoyed by everyone from your comic nerd to your professional business person to your doctors or scientists or lawyers. All walks of life enjoy this particular medium. I guess this is a safe space for safe space for anybody that has that inner geek and just wants to express it. This is the place for it.
What troubles did you have to deal with to run the comic shop?
Over the past year, the biggest obstacles for emotionally in terms of just doing my job, every obstacle that I've had is all of them have been put up by DC Comics. But, we've muddled past it, muddled through it. We've been broken in a few times, and it's always kind of been the same deal where they pull in, they come into the strip center, and they bust in, get some stuff, and then jump back on the freeway and take off. The only thing you have of running any business is, sometimes the various bureaucracies that you have to work through to get, paying for your sign permit or paying this tax thing or what have you. But that's with any business. It's just understanding how to work through those, navigate through those channels to get things done whenever you need to get them done. When COVID hit, a lot of people started selling me stuff, and I was in a position to be able to buy things. And before I knew it, we had accumulated a lot of stuff. So I started selling on eBay. Hadn't been on eBay in 8 years prior to that. I started taking things that I was buying and giving them to different auction houses. And exceeding our expectations of what we thought we would get for various items. So that was pretty exciting. And that was really the biggest thing, was finding other ways to get what we had out to people at a time when people couldn't come here. So I think that was, for us, the biggest thing was it opened up all these other revenue streams that we not necessarily weren't aware of, but we weren't utilizing. Typically, most comic stores where we advertise has always been local, like newspapers. For me, I've always kind of been interested in the social media stuff, so as soon as we opened, we had Facebook and we had our Instagram and various things, but it really wasn't until this guy walked in the store and said, "Hey, I can do these TikTok videos for you." And I'm like, "What's TikTok?"
Right at 7 o'clock, Atomic Mug item in our store has to be this cat.
My name is Mackenzie and I run the social media accounts. I'd been doing TikTok and social media for fun for a few years, and I was trying to turn it into a job pretty much. And I always thought marketing on TikTok is really a good, easy, accessible thing for everybody, to do. And I'd been wanting to run a TikTok account for a business. And Robert said yes. And yeah, it's fun. It worked out great.
It seemed something different and interesting, and I wasn't sure how it was going to affect us. And how we could make money from it by making videos of stuff in the store. But he ran with it, and it's worked out really well for us. I think it's just helped people see this as a space to come to check out that we hadn't, we hadn't thought of until that point. And the last 6 months, ever since we started it, we can see that increase. So it's brought some new faces into our store that hadn't been in here before, or even I think some of them just never even knew a comic shop existed. My thought has always been that with pop culture, one thing informs another. So if you like comic books, chances are the people that like comic books also like movies, and they also like TV shows, and they also like playing games, and they also like music. One of the best experiences I had was I went out to a lady's house one time to buy some action figures, and we got out there, and I noticed she had some movie posters on her walls, and she's like, "Well, do you buy stuff like this? Do you like movie posters?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure." And she took me to this back room that she had in her home, and we pulled out these boards, and we opened them up, and every Star Wars poster that ever existed was there, and every Indiana Jones poster that ever was printed was there. And we went from me going in and spending a couple $100 to me spending thousands of dollars because and it was something really exciting because you didn't expect that. And once again, the value to her was the toys and the comics that she had. She didn't realize that the real value was this other stuff that she had stuck behind a closet. People like us, we tend to like a lot of different stuff. And if I can find that crossover as I'm talking to people, sometimes it allows me to really pick up more stuff and be a lot more help to them, especially when they are wanting to move some things or needing to move some stuff.
Tomorrow night we're doing a live auction on Whatnot from 5 to 6. Whatnot is basically a perfect mixture of eBay and claim sales.
Once a month we have Funko Pop swaps, where basically vendors are allowed to set up tables right outside of our store. You can buy Funkos, but you can also trade them as well.
The weirdest thing that I had bought in the store was about 6 years ago. A guy came in wanting to sell me some Cabbage Patch dolls. I typically don't buy Cabbage Patch dolls. And he said he had them, brought them in. I looked at them. They're a little more beat up than what he had described over the phone. I was like, yeah, I don't think these are for me. And as he's leaving, he's kind of turns to me and says, "Hey, do you know anybody that would be interested in 179 Buddha statues?" And I'm like yeah, because I have like 100 plus of these statues. And I was like, let me see them. So we went out to his car, and sure enough, he opens up his trunk, and there's all these Buddha statues in there, you know. And somehow I felt like I needed that in my life, so I bought 179 Buddha statues from this gentleman. And it turned out to be really cool because one of my employees at the time, who is an artist, he actually looked at them and decided to do these art pieces with them and to sort of resculpt them and do different things with them. And so we have like a Deadpool Buddha and a Spider-Man Buddha and Daft Punk Buddhas. And yeah, it turned into something we sold for a couple years until I think somebody eventually came in and I narrowed it down to maybe like 50 Buddha statues. And somebody walked in and said, "Why do you have these here?" And I said, "Well, because I thought they were cool." And they thought they were cool too, so they bought the rest of them from me. And that was the end of my Buddha statues.